What's up to all my NFL and fantasy football fans? It's the NFL Exporter checking in live on Raw Radio. You are now tuned in to the Exporter Sports Talk Show. We are in full motion as the 2014 NFL season. Week 1 is officially in the books, and what a great start it was for the NFL as well as fantasy football. I've got a great show on hand for you today, so sit back and relax because I know you're going to enjoy this one. Now, before we get into the show, let's make sure that you know how to connect with us on our social networks so you can keep up on all the latest updates and news. For myself, you can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook at NFLExporter. That is spelled NFLExporter. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn for my business professionals. That's going to be Lance Goodman, aka the NFL Exporter. And then to check out this show and all the work that we put in the preseason, you can go to youtube.com and in the search engine put in NFL Exporter on Raw Radio, and it'll pull up all of our broadcasts. Now, to connect with Raw Radio, you want to hit us up on Twitter. You want to hit us up on Facebook at Raw Radio 1. That is RAWRADIOONE. Raw Radio 1. All right. And then if you would like to be a part of the show, which I would love, I am open to receiving comments. If you need fantasy football advice, if you just want to flat out talk football, if you have questions, if you have different views on some of the analyzing that I am giving, I am more than open to discuss those things with you. The email is TESS@rawradio1.com, and then you can also call in. The call-in number to the show is 716-249-0552. All right, so certainly going to be looking to get some feedback and hear from our ever-growing fan base out there, who I really appreciate all the love, all the support. You guys know that I go hard for you, definitely bringing to you that top of the line, analyzing and breakdown and reporting, just like you were watching ESPN or NFL Network or one of those type shows. All right, so to get into the action today, let's go ahead and take a quick look back on week 1 in the NFL. I did not fare too well. You know that each week when we preview the upcoming games, I give you my predictions, and I was a lousy 7-9 this week. But as you'll see, there were certainly quite a few upsets, so I'm not the only one, I'm quite sure, who did not fare too well as far as picking these games, which means the bookie and out in Vegas made a killing, which they always do in the beginning of the season when teams are not quite in full form. So on Thursday night, we seen the Seattle Seahawks get off to a great start, beating the Green Bay Packers 36-16. Marshawn Lynch did his thing with 110 yards and 2 TDs, and that Seahawks defense was flat out nasty. Didn't give Aaron Rodgers and that offense nothing but a bunch of fits and nightmares. And you know the big news that came out of that game was that quarterback Aaron Rodgers surprisingly did not throw one single pass at the Seahawks shutdown cornerback Richard Sherman. And so that was some big news coming out of that game. And I was wondering because the Packers have a very good second-year receiver in Jared Boykin, and the only passes that I seen Aaron Rodgers throwing was to Randall Cobb and Jordy Nelson. Well, after the game was over, I found out why Jared Boykin didn't even get a single pass thrown his way is because Richard Sherman was checking him. Now, I will give Richard Sherman his props. He's definitely got the rep now. He's got the Super Bowl ring from last year. He's led the NFL the past 2 seasons with 8 interceptions back-to-back years. He made the big play last year in the NFC Championship to send Seattle to the Super Bowl. So I definitely get down with Richard Sherman. I think he's an excellent player. However, you've got to attack this guy. You cannot sit back and go on somebody's reputation and give them a free day at a park. I certainly wish I was making millions of dollars and I didn't do really pretty much I didn't have to do anything but just kind of stand out there for 35 minutes worth of time and kind of just twiddle my thumbs. So that was very surprising. But we did have that game right. We did pick Seattle to win that one. We lost on this one here. I had New Orleans beating Atlanta in the shootout. It was a shootout, but it was the Falcons who ended up on top 37-34. QB Matty Ice tore it down with 448 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. This was a game that you could tell that whoever had the football last was going to win the game. And if you have been watching football over the last couple years, Matty Ice is not the quarterback who you want to have the football in the Georgia Dome with time remaining on the clock. That guy works magic. The Falcons were able to get it done. I had this one right. The Minnesota Vikings went out to St. Louis, put a beat down on the Rams 34-6. Cordero Patterson, their wide receiver, made headlines as he had a 67-yard touchdown run when he lined up in the backfield as a running back. And so this is a very special player. You've heard nothing but rave reviews coming from him this preseason, and he certainly showed why as he was able to line up as a running back and take a pitch out 67 yards for a touchdown. Next, we got this one right. The Pittsburgh Steelers barely edged out the Cleveland Browns. This was one of the better games on Sunday. A lot of people missed this one because Pittsburgh got out to a 27-3 lead, but Cleveland scored 24 straight points to tie it up before Big Ben led a last-minute drive, which ended in a Sean Sweetsham field goal to give Pittsburgh the tight victory at home. Next, we got this one right as well. The Philadelphia Eagles were down 17-0 at halftime to the lowly Jacksonville Jaguars, but the Eagles made the proper adjustments, came out in the second half and put up 34 straight points to send the Jacksonville Jaguars home. Nick Foles had 322 yards and 2 TD passes, while Darren Sproles and Shady McCoy combined for over 200 yards of offense. So the Eagles definitely were able to get on track. We had this one wrong, but it was only by a couple points. I actually had Oakland winning on the road in this one, 17-13. The Jets end up winning 19-14 on a last-minute touchdown run. Well, it wasn't last minute, but in the latter parts of the game, when Oakland was up 14-12. Running back Chris Ivory took a handoff 60 yards for a touchdown to ice the game for the Jets. We knew that this was going to be a tug of war on defense. Rookie quarterback Derek Carr for the Oakland Raiders played well. He had 2 touchdowns. It was really the Jets stopping the Oakland Raiders running game that really made things difficult. And again, the Raiders were leading in this game in the fourth quarter before Ivory popped that late touchdown in. We had this one wrong as well. We took the Baltimore Ravens at home over the Cincinnati Bengals. This was another game that a lot of people turned away from because Cincinnati was leading this game at halftime 15-0. However, Baltimore put up the first 16 points of the second half before the big man, the big playmaker, A.J. Green, the wide receiver for Cincinnati, caught a 77-yard bomb for a touchdown to give Cincinnati the late lead up in Baltimore. This was a very good game, especially in the second half, but the Bengals were able to get that late connection from Andy Dalton to A.J. Green to come out of Baltimore with a big victory. Another game that I had wrong, I don't know who picked Buffalo in this one, but the Chicago Bears lost at home to the Buffalo Bills in overtime 23-20. There really wasn't a whole lot of things that Buffalo did to win the game. I will give them props to quarterback E.J. Manuel, who only threw for 98 yards. He did not make any turnovers. He did have a rushing touchdown, but it was really the Bills' defense capitalizing on a couple costly turnovers by Jay Cutler. If you remember when we talked about Jay Cutler in the preseason, we said that he just needs to stick and play within the offense because he always finds a way to make turnovers at a very costly time, and he certainly did that this past Sunday and ended up costing the Bears a victory. And so the Buffalo Bills are 1-0, went into Chicago and snuck one out of there 23-20. Next, we had this one wrong as well. This game was a little bit closer than the score indicated. Houston beat the Washington Redskins 17-6. Really, this was a game that was pretty much an even battle. The two big plays that really gave Houston the lead was Houston blocked a punt that they ran in for a touchdown, and then wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins got loose in the secondary for a 69-yard touchdown. Outside of that, it was a pretty even ball game. Obviously, everybody is critical on quarterback Robert Griffith III, who did not play too bad, but Griffith definitely needs to find his swag, get his mojo back. He's out there playing tentative. He's hesitating. He just needs to kind of tune out the media and get back into what he does. And the big news coming out of that game actually was a couple headlines. I'll get to one later, but running back Arian Foster was back healthy. You know, he was a guy that we had a lot of concern in the preseason due to his injuries from the past year. Came out with 103 rushing yards. Looked very good. Next, we got this one wrong as well. The Tennessee Titans went out to Kansas City and pulled off a road victory 26-10. They managed to hold the Chiefs star running back Jamal Charles to just 19 yards rushing. Now, if you would have told me that before the ball game, then I definitely would have went with Tennessee, because outside of Jamal Charles, this Kansas City Chiefs offense really doesn't have much to offer. For Tennessee, the bright spots were quarterback Jake Locker was very effective, did not make any turnovers, threw 2 TD passes, and as we talked about in the preseason as well, this Tennessee Titans defense is for real. Got a lot of players over there who can hold it down, and they certainly showed that, even though Kansas City offense is not too much to brag about. Next, we got this one wrong. The Miami Dolphins had a big home victory over the New England Patriots, 33-20. New England got off to a fast start, but it was no Sean Moreno, their free agent pickup from the Denver Broncos, who really energized his ball club, ended with 134 rushing yards and 1 TD. Also, the defense picked it up in the second half, led by elite pass rusher Cameron Wake, who was in Tom Brady's grill basically the whole second half, stripping him 2 times. And that energy between the defense and no Sean Moreno lifted the Dolphins to a 33-20 victory out in Miami. So that was certainly a surprise and a shock as well. The Carolina Panthers played without Cam Newton. That certainly factored into me choosing Tampa Bay in this game as well. But veteran quarterback Derek Anderson stepped in and had a great day, threw for over 300 yards. The go-ahead touchdown came to rookie wide receiver Calvin Benjamin, who had a circus catch. I mean, this was probably going to end up being one of the best catches all season long. Went basically through a defender, caught the ball on his back, and came down with the football. This was a defensive battle without question, but at the end of the day, it was this year's, or I should say last year's, Defensive Player of the Year, Luke Kelce, coming up with a late strip on a tackle that forced a fumble, and Carolina picked up and was able to secure the road victory. We got this one right. The San Francisco 49ers knocked off the Dallas Cowboys 28-17. The 49ers were able to capitalize on 4 first-half turnovers by Dallas. I really don't understand how Dallas continues to make these mistakes, but at the same time, I guess I just need to accept the fact that that is who this team really is. Quarterback Tony Romo threw 3 horrible first-half interceptions. Running back DeMarco Murray got off the game to a bad start as he fumbled on the 3rd play of the game, and San Francisco ran it back for a touchdown. The 49ers also scored 2 more touchdowns off of Romo's first 2 interceptions, and before you knew it, Dallas was down 21-3. I think the 2 biggest things that you look at the Cowboys that come away from this game, outside of really getting a chance to see how poor their defense is the Cowboys had 2 straight possessions where they had first down and goal from the 2-yard line, and instead of giving it to their premier running back DeMarco Murray, these guys decided to pass the football. One time it was an interception, the other time they had to settle for a field goal. Shame on you, Dallas. Horrible play calling. Next, we've seen the Denver Broncos get out to a 24-0 lead at home before Andrew Luck and the Colts made a late charge, but a late Monty Ball touchdown put Denver ahead for good. Denver ended up winning 31-24. Peyton Manning hooked up with stud tight end Julius Thomas for 3 touchdown scores in the first half, and the Denver Broncos were able to hold on to get the late victory. Also coming out of this one, as we confirmed and we're talking about in the preseason, this Indianapolis Colts running game is inept, and Andrew Luck is going to be passing the football a lot. And so if you don't have a Indianapolis Colt wide receiver on your team, I'm talking about Hakeem Nicks, Reggie Wayne, or T.Y. Hilton, if those guys are available on the free agent wire, get somebody quick, because that running game does not look like it's going to be effective at all. And then on Monday Night Football, the Lions put a beat down on the New York Giants. Matthew Stafford hooked up with Calvin Johnson for 2 first-quarter touchdowns, and the Lions never looked back. As we talked about in the preseason, this Giants offense continues to struggle. Victor Cruz was MIA. The only bright spot, which has been the only bright spot for this Giants team in the preseason, was running back Rashard Jennings. But, man, we're going to keep an eye on this New York team, because they started off last year 0-6. And, man, if they can't find a victory in these first couple games, I just don't see this team being able to pick itself up out of the gutter and put some wins together. So we're certainly going to watch that. And then the final game of the week saw a close one. The Arizona Cardinals squeaked out a home victory over the San Diego Chargers, 18-17. Carson Palmer, the quarterback for Arizona, remember we spoke about him in the preseason. If he kept his turnovers down, how effective he could be. Well, he put up 304 yards and 2 TDs with no interceptions. And he, surprisingly, his lead receiver was not Larry Fitzgerald, who only had 1 catch. It was actually Michael Floyd, who led the team in yards last year with 113 yards. The key play in this game, at the end of the first half, San Diego was trying to get a couple extra yards to give their field goal kicker a shot to get 3 points before the half. Eddie Royal, the wide receiver for San Diego, was running a crossing route. He stopped running his route. Phillip Rivers had already released the football, and it resulted in an interception in which Arizona was able to pick up about 25 yards and get a field goal before the first half. And in a 1-point game like that, that swing of the pendulum, with Arizona getting a field goal instead of San Diego, certainly end up being the difference in the game. All right, now that's going to wrap up our first segment. You make sure to go nowhere. We're going to pay these bills, get a couple commercials in, and then when we come back, we're going to talk some fantasy football. It's the NFL Exporter live on Raw Radio. Stay tuned.